Welcome to the Ecumenical Church of Occitane's Advent and Christmas Carol Advent calendar. Each day during Advent we will reflect on one well-known Advent or Christmas carol, as well as looking at paintings of the sort that often appear on Christmas cards. We hope you'll join us every day as we prepare to celebrate again the birth of Jesus Christ over 2,000 years ago. December the 18th, in the bleak midwinter. The bleakest midwinter I can remember was when my wife and I bought our first house. It was in a village in mid-Norfolk, mainly because houses were fairly cheap there, and we bought the cheapest house on offer at the time. We lived in one room because it was the only one with any electricity. There was an open fire with a back boiler. If you lit the fire in the morning, there might be enough hot water in the evening for a shallow bath. Having a bath was quite romantic, as the lack of electricity meant you had to light the bathroom with candles. And our first winter there was cold, very cold. Norfolk being on the east coast, there was nothing to stop the wind coming all the way from Siberia. And there was plenty of snow and ice that year. The toilet was partly outside, and it required a kettle of hot water to melt the ice inside. But there were definitely good things about living there. One good thing was that before the days of neoliberal economics and politics, there were decent government grants to improve a property like ours, although they didn't kick in until a year later. The other good thing was to discover what great fun it was to be part of a rural Norfolk village, and the many friendships we made there. Some of the friendships were made by joining the local Church of England church, which was the only one in the village. We were also particularly grateful to be invited round to other people's warm houses for meals. One such friend had the intriguing surname Rossetti, a direct descendant of the brother of the famous Victorian painter Dante Gabriel Rossetti. On the wall of the house was a beautiful pastel portrait of a young woman by Dante Gabriel, of his sister Christina. And so my memories of a particularly bleak midwinter and Christina Rossetti come together in today's carol. The carol begins with the cold and snow typical of the European carol since the Middle Ages. I interrogated that myth yesterday. Then Christina Rossetti writes about the paradoxes and contrasts between a child born in very poor circumstances and the incarnation in Jesus. Yes, heaven cannot hold him, yet a stable place sufficed. The traditional ox and ass make an appearance, yet, as I mentioned yesterday, they are not found in the New Testament. In fact, the earliest written reference to them comes in the Gospel of Pseudo-Matthew, written in the 7th or 8th century, although no doubt using earlier sources. In today's carol they are joined by a camel, no doubt belonging to one of the wise men. So we really have a sort of crib scene, popularised since the 13th century. Equally of the spirit of the Middle Ages is the last verse, in which we are invited to imagine what gift we could bring to the infant in the manger. What can I give him, poor as I am? If I were a shepherd, I would bring a lamb. If I were a wise man, I would do my part. Yet what I can I give him, give my heart. Christina Rossetti wrote it as a poem called A Christmas Carol in 1872. There are two arguably equally good musical settings to the carol. One is by Gustav Holst, published in 1906, and is usually the preferred setting for congregational singing. The second is by Harold Darke, written in 1909, and is generally the preferred choice of choirs and choir masters, who named it the best carol in a survey in 2008. I suppose I should apologise for choosing a painting by Bruegel again, but when it comes to snowscapes, he is clearly the master. This one is called The Adoration of the Magi in the Snow and dates to 1563. As with yesterday's picture, it shows a snowy scene in a typical Flemish village in winter. Despite the cold, people are outside, engaged in a variety of tasks. Water has to be fetched via a hole in the ice of the river. The scene of the Nativity is confined to the bottom left corner of the painting, where figures can be seen kneeling. The quality of clothes suggests that they are magi rather than shepherds, but perhaps the shepherds are already there. There is certainly a distinct absence of camels, and a general indifference by the rest of the folk of the village. This is regarded as the first example of a painting which actually shows snow falling. Snow had fallen, snow on snow, snow on snow, in the bleak midwinter, long ago.